So I want to shift over now and talk about koans. Uh, Koans were first developed in China during the Tang Dynasty, which was roughly the 7th to 9th centuries. And for whatever reason, really worldwide, it was a time of deep realization. And there have been times like this in history where, in my opinion, we're actually in one or entering one now. It's a time when people are more open and susceptible to awakening, to realization. And I think part of it is so many, the number of people having these experiences is growing exponentially. So it's like it's more firmly landed in our collective consciousness and the undividedness. And so I think that's happening. And at the Tang Dynasty, there were just some remarkable teachers, some deeply realized, very grounded, clear teachers who, in their exchanges with students, could spark the student into deeper experience, even awakening. And some of the other students began recording these interactions, and they became part of a practice territory where folks would read these like they would be a collection from teacher A, and the students for the students of teacher A would review these, and some would find it very beneficial. And as these teachers retired, died, then the collections began making their way out of the different temples and practice places. And so they were put to use in that way. In formal koan training in the lineage I'm in, one would do probably something like 600 koans to complete the organized body of koans. If one then is invited for Dharma transmission, then there's going to be another 200 plus koans as part of the Dharma transmission process. So there's a lot of koans, and the koans, there are different groups of koans. In Japan in the 18th century, there was a very prominent teacher, one of the most powerful teachers from Japan, named Hakuin. And Hakuin not only had a profoundly deep realization, he talked about having 17 major awakenings and countless minor awakenings. So a deeply realized teacher. And what he did was he really emphasized the transformative quality of koans to open us to awakening, to drop concepts, to drop the sense of self. Zen Master Dogen called it dropping of mind and body, was how he explained Kensho. And so Hakuin and his immediate successors organized the koans into collections, into books. Some of them pre-existed Hakuin. They were already in some collections, but he put them into the order that it was believed they were most effective. And so typically, when one starts koan practice in almost every lineage that offers koans, one starts with a koan mu. And there are 3 koans in the first batch of koans one does, and they're called the Dharmakaya koans. Dharmakaya is another name for the Absolute. It's considered a body of the Buddha, and this body is the absolute body or the absolute realm. And mu is directing our awareness towards this quality of the absolute. And I'm going to read you, this is traditionally how one starts the koan, is that they're given the full presentation of the koan. And so I'm just going to read this to you. And this is a translation I've done from the Japanese. A monk resting in everyday mind. So he was pretty much landed in the sense of self and was feeling the core wound, feeling the unworthiness, the inabilities. And it's axiomatic in all of Buddhism that we all have what's called the Buddha nature, and that is the nature to be fully realized. That just means the absolute is in our consciousness, and if it fully awakens, then that consciousness becomes the consciousness of a Buddha. And so this monk, resting in everyday mind, asked Master Joshu, as a dog was passing them, does that dog have Buddha nature? In my view, the monk is directing the attention away from his or her own shortcomings or perception of shortcomings, and also understanding that the right answer for his question is yes, the dog has Buddha nature. But Master Joshu, sensing his apprehension and the fact that he was conflicted, answered Wu in Chinese, which is pronounced mu in Japanese. And Wu means no or nothing or without. I also include absence or no thing in that answer. And so, of course, this was startling to the young student because everyone knows that all sentient beings have Buddha nature. And Joshu says, nope, doesn't have it, or it's absent, it's gone. And so the comment that there was a teacher, Muman, who collected these koans into what's called a Muman Kan, that means the gateless gate. That's the first collection after one finishes the Dharmakaya koans. And I'll talk about the Dharmakaya koans in a minute. But the first, again, is Mu. So the comment Muman makes is, in order to master Zen, you must pass the patriarch's barrier. To invite the subtle realization, you must completely cut off the allegiance to thoughts and preferences. Now that reminds us of the stanza I read in the Trust and Awakening. You can see the overlap. Back to Muman. If this barrier is not passed, and the allegiance to thoughts and preferences is not cut off, then you will be like a hollow ghost resigned to the undergrowth. Tell me now, what is the patriarch's barrier? Why, it is this single word, Mu. This is the portal of Zen. Therefore, it is called the Muman Kan of Zen. Again, meaning the gateless gate of Zen. If the patriarch's barrier is penetrated and passed, Master Joshu will appear face to face. While you walk hand in hand with the successive patriarchs, entangling eyebrows with theirs, seeing with shared eyes and vision, hearing with shared ears. Isn't that a delightful prospect? Wouldn't you like to enter this very portal right here? Arouse and direct your entire body with its 360 bones and joints and its 84,000 pores of the skin. Summon up a spirit of great doubt and be one with Mu. Carry it close day and night with don't know mind. It will be just as swallowing a red-hot iron ball lodged deeply. All the illusory ideas and delusive thoughts accumulated up to this point will be vanquished. And in the fullness of time, inside and outside will be spontaneously perceived as ever united. You will know this truth on a cellular level. So again, my commentary, notice that we're talking about putting down, releasing the thoughts, and also inside outside will be spontaneously perceived as united. So once again, we're pointing back to one of the stages of Shikantaza. So back to Master Muman. A sudden explosive transformation will occur, and the heavens will be penetrated while the earth shakes in awe. It will be as if the great sword of the valiant general Kanyu is nestled in your hand. When you meet the Buddha, kill him. When you meet the patriarchs, kill them. When they mention kill them here, we're talking about concepts. Kill the concept, have the direct experience. That's what that's pointing to. Back to Muman. On the precipice of life and death, perfect freedom is mandated. Among the sixfold worlds and four modes of existence, there is frolicking in a merry and playful samadhi, so a concentration state. I say here and now, how will you carry mu? Engage every ounce of intention and energy to work mu. Hold on without breach. Behold, a single spark, and the holy candle is lit. And then Muman provides a verse. An ordinary dog, the Buddha nature. The pronouncement perfect and complete. Before you say it has or has not, you are a dead person on the spot. So that's the traditional presentation that one would get to take the koan mu. And the way it's practiced is that we try to stay with the koan throughout our waking hours. I often tell students to hold mu on the tip of your breath. The traditional practice instruction is on the in-breath, internally saying, what is it? And on the exhale, mu. So inhale, what is it? Exhale, mu. What is it? Mu. What is it? Mu. And so we hold it like a mantra. We hold it, repeating it, trying to get intimate with it and settling beneath the concept of mu, the idea, the story, all of that. All right, so I'm going to talk about the other two Dharmakaya koans. So normally what would happen is you'd be given mu and you would work with it until there is a significant event of understanding, a non-conceptual knowing, and that you can present this in a way that the teacher can witness it. So if mu was passed, then one would do, there's about 10 what we call mu checking questions. And so one works through those checking questions. And it's a variety of things like how old is mu and things like that. And once one finishes the checking question, then mu is complete for this round. And one would then be given one of the other Dharmakaya koans, another of the absolute koans. And the two of those are the sound of one hand clapping. So you know the sound of two hands clapping. So what's the sound of one hand clapping? And of course, we're not concerned about the hand. We're concerned about something else. What's the non-conceptual? If we take out two hands, how is their sound? How do we find it? How do we make contact with it? How do we know it? So that's another of the Dharmakaya koans. And the third is a koan that reads quickly without thinking of good or evil. What is your original face before your parents were born? So clearly, original face is not the same as human face. We're asking, who were you before your parents were born? So trying to bypass self-identity, sense of self, all of that, and say, what's here, what's unconditioned in your awareness that isn't subject to time, isn't subject to birth and death, what's timeless? So those are the first three koans one would work. And once those are passed, then there's a sequence. In the tradition I'm in, then we have what's called the miscellaneous koans. There's a large number of koans they're very little koans, but they're helping to expand the realization, to open it more fully, to flesh it out, as we might say. And so those work very specific understandings. And later on in the koan collections, one would then start the Muman-kan. The first koan in the Muman-kan, the gateless gate, is mu. So you work mu again. And Hakuin presented mu that it was a koan that could be worked for one's lifetime. There would really be one could never fully plumb the depths of Mu. So that's why it's considered such a remarkable koan. But anyway, so the process goes through the different collections. There's the Mumen I mentioned, and other collections called the Blue Cliff Record. There's another called the Book of Equanimity, and there's some others. But these are all worked with one's teacher to resolution and understanding. And in our tradition also, one has to present the koan, has to show that they understand, that they realize the koan. So it's not just an explanation. For my teaching, I do ask for an explanation. I want to make sure people are understanding what they need to understand with the koan, but I also want to make sure that the transformative aspects are happening. That's quite important. Yeah, there are some books. There are some folks online who do present answers, and students will sometimes bring those in. And I guess I'd say it's kind of like the difference between going to a school dance with somebody you're crazy in love with, or going to the dance with somebody who you're related to. You're going to the dance with people both ways, but one of them, there's a whole lot more energy and enthusiasm behind it. So part of what we're looking for as teachers is we want to feel the resonance of the koan. We've passed the koan, so we know how they feel. We want to feel it. And the students of mine who have passed koans know that I'll say, show me the answer, and they will, and I'll say, show me another way, show me another way, show me another way. And most of the ways that they find online give them one answer. So if somebody can't, in the moment, come up with a half a dozen or 10 answers that are exactly right, that I recognize, I feel also, and I'm also looking for transformation. If they're not changed, if they come in and they're pretty flat, or they're in their normal sort of presentation, I'm not going to be as convinced with their answer. So we're looking for a combination of things to have happen. I mean, for me, I have the benefit of my teacher, where the students I have that are finishing the Dharmakaya koans, I'm sending to my teacher also. I'm going to get his confirmation as well and see if there's anything he's seeing that they could flesh out. So, I have a little help in that regard. But it really becomes pretty obvious when someone has resolved it or not, or when it's something they've read online.